Welcome to After I Left, the Help Me Leave podcast, where we explore stories of migration. I'm Charlotte, founder of Help Me Leave.
And I'm Ray's co-host.
And today we're really excited to welcome Max, who you may know as MaxNRelax on social media, which is an epic social tag, by the way. He's accumulated nearly 150,000 followers on TikTok, talking about all sorts of things, but in particular, his experiences moving to Spain recently. So, hey Max, how are you doing?
I'm good. Hello, Charlotte.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let's just start with the basics. Tell us about yourself. Where are you from? Who are you?
You got it, yeah. So my name is Max. I use he, him pronouns. I am a trans guy who is from initially Portland, Oregon, but I was living in Denver, Colorado for the past 5 years, and then I just moved to Spain a month ago.
Amazing. So whereabouts in Spain are you?
I am in Valencia.
Amazing. And what are you doing for your day-to-day?
So I am working through a language assistant program. So I'm working as an assistant to an English teacher.
Do you actually already speak Spanish, or is that something you're learning?
I'm definitely still learning, yeah. I studied Spanish, I would say, for about a month before getting here, and then have just been practicing and learning while being immersed.
Amazing.
So the first thing we want to talk to you about is making the decision to leave. Was it a quick decision? Was it something that took a long time to decide?
I feel like it wasn't a quick decision. I definitely was still holding on to hope that the checks and balances would, um, prevent what is currently happening from happening. I think when it really became apparent to me that it was time to leave was when folks started to be deported to third countries. That's when I realized the checks and balances are not working, and it's time to make a plan.
And what was the biggest thing holding you back that kept you from sort of making the decision sooner?
I think community. I have so much community in Denver, Colorado. So I was really, really holding on to hope that I didn't have to leave, because leaving so much community has been really, really.
And were there anything specific that you were like worried about in terms of regrets other than leaving your community behind?
Yeah, some of the big regrets that I was worried about is, what if I got here and I felt super lonely? What if I got here and it didn't work out? What if I got here and then was sent back? Thinking about not being close to the people that I love physically, worrying about, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and so the regulations here for providing therapy are very different. I would have to have a psychology bachelor's and master's, and trying to figure all of that out, I knew that was going to be tricky too. So I really did take a big leap of faith with coming to Spain.
So what were the pillars of your decision? We've actually talked about this before, but for everybody who's listening, what were the kind of things that made you decide, yeah, this is the right decision and now's the time?
Yeah, great question. So there were a lot of factors. The main factors had to do with my health and my safety. So I am someone that has both like mental and physical disabilities, including 2 chronic illnesses that without medical care, I have almost died from in the past. And so I'm someone that was on Medicaid. I was on the Working Adults with Disabilities Buy-in Medicaid in Colorado. And when the bill passed that was going to significantly defund Medicaid, I got an email saying that they were going to cut that program that I was on. And there was no way that I was going to be able to afford health insurance if it was like private insurance, not with my pre-existing conditions. So that was a really big factor. Also, as a trans man that has had a total hysterectomy, my body doesn't produce enough hormones on its own to be able to regulate processes in my body that you need enough hormones to regulate, such as my heart, my immune system, my digestive system. So without access to testosterone, um, I would very likely die. And so with all the attacks that I was seeing, where they were trying to remove coverage for gender affirming care from Medicaid, that was also a really big deciding factor. Um, and then, as a therapist that works with mostly trans kids, I do work with some trans adults too, but I would say it's like 60-40, like trans kids and then trans adults. Um, and seeing all of the subpoenas that hospitals were receiving due to providing gender affirming care for minors, I was worried that even just providing mental health care, that I was going to become a political target. And so, I knew if I wanted to continue to do this work and, be an effective therapist, that I could do it way better um, from abroad. It would be really hard for me to be a regulated nervous system trying to help other people regulate when I was actively feeling in danger myself. And I think I made the right decision.
On that note, are you able to still practice for
Mhm.
the United States remotely? Oh, okay, that's amazing. Okay, that's very good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did a lot of talking to legal people, and I did consult with someone through Expatsy. And it really depends on what state you have your license in. Some states have certain regulations against it. Luckily, Colorado basically says as long as your client is in Colorado, as long as you abide by all of the like privacy guidelines, you have like a HIPAA compliant, secure platform to provide telehealth, things like that, then you can still practice.
Amazing.
So, I mean, it's a pretty compelling case for you as an individual, and I guess it overrode your feeling of like not wanting to leave community, etc. But was there anybody you had to kind of persuade to get on board with your plan, or were you going to do it regardless of
Mm,
what everybody else thought?
that's a really good question. I did lose a few friends that said things like "you're a coward," "you're abandoning community," um, you shouldn't have the right to complain about the loss that you're feeling because you're actively choosing to abandon your own community. So just some really harsh words,
Mm.
and that hurt, and that's still hard to not internalize. And I get a lot of comments like that, unfortunately, and I get it. I think it comes from the fear, and it comes from. I mean, there are a lot of folks that don't have the option to leave, and so I
Right.
get it. But it's also I think that a lot of people think that this experience is this like glorified version than what it actually is. It's very isolating. It's very scary. I have broken down and cried a lot. I've had panic attacks. It's not this. Oh, look at me! I'm about to go live in fantasy land in Europe, and everything's going to be amazing. It's like no, it's truly it has been a very humbling experience. There have been a few people that I've lost. I would say that the people that love me and care about me have all expressed that they're just happy that I'm safe and that I made the right decision. So I try to hold on to that and try not to internalize the negativity, and still try to hold compassion for those folks that are upset about my choice because I feel like I can imagine the fear, and um, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
That's really an amazing
That's still
attitude. That's yeah, like very much kudos to you. That's that's an amazing attitude to maintain, and I know it's difficult. And as somebody also going through leaving the United States and everything like that, um, that's very very wonderful of you.
Thanks, you're so sweet.
I mean, we've talked about this a little bit before, but you need both people staying and people outside fighting. You need both. And I have very strongly come to the belief that those most at risk of harm, which, I mean, you made a very compelling case for how the regime was both planning to harm you actively and also passively, I don't think the expectation can be that you stay and fight whilst undergoing that level of harm. Yeah, I mean, we see this kind of discussion all the time online, and you're right, it's rooted in fear. It's rooted in fear, but that doesn't make it any less harmful for you when you're just trying to save your own life and then also retain your ability to support other people as well. So you've made your decision. It's time for me to leave. Talk me through what happened next.
Oh yeah, so it's been kind of a wild ride. I had been posting to TikTok for a while, but I had a video go viral. Um, and it was a video where I was talking about looking into Spain as an option for leaving. And that video got, I believe it has like 2 million views or something like that. It went very viral in Europe. Yeah. And a lot of people reached out to me. And there was one person from Spain that reached out and said, hey, I actually have a friend that's from LA that was able to move to Spain through this program. It's called NALCAP. It's spelled NALCAP. And it's a language assistant program where you work part-time for a school in Spain. And you work as a language assistant. And they give you a monthly stipend to live off of. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I looked it up. I checked out the requirements. You do have to have a bachelor's degree to qualify. And the applications had just opened. Truly the synchronicities were working. So I applied, I got accepted, and I also got placed in the city, which I was hoping, in Valencia, because I'm definitely a city guy. So truly, I'm so lucky. And then, the process was a lot of documentation, which I can go into.
And then you had to prep your life to leave. So, as someone who has emigrated, I know how hard it is deciding what to pack and what not to pack. Tell us about that process for you. Did you have to leave a lot behind or sell a lot?
Yeah. So I came here with two large suitcases, like the biggest ones that you're allowed to travel with, one carry-on, and a personal bag. And then my dog Charlie
Wow.
and her dog kennel. So everything else I sold or donated. So the only things that I didn't sell were, I gave my mom my car. I also had a motorcycle and a Vespa that I have been storing at my mom's place too. So everything else, sold it all, and started from two big suitcases, one carry-on, and a personal bag, and that was it. The process of selling stuff was exhausting. I used a lot of Facebook Marketplace, and I am really glad that I started like a few months before my travel date, because it really did help me to save up some money to be able to afford the plane ticket and buying new things here. But yeah, I sold everything.
Oh my gosh. So you get on the plane. I don't know, have you travelled long haul internationally before? Was that new for you or?
Yeah, no. I actually had never been. So, my first time out of the US was traveling to Mexico. That was maybe 4 months before I moved to Spain. Yeah, I went with a friend who moved to Mexico because she has a trans daughter who is a minor. And she knew that that daughter was going to need access to healthcare. And things were not looking good for trans minors. They still aren't. And so I went with just to, help check it out. And they're so sweet. They let me stay in the Airbnb. And initially, I was thinking I might go with them to Mexico, but then there were like health insurance requirements for going, and I knew that with my pre-existing conditions, it was going to be pretty hard to get health insurance in Mexico. So I decided against going there, and yeah. But this is my first time in Europe. I had never traveled aside from going to Mexico, and um, yeah, it's been a big culture shock and a huge learning experience for me.
Have you had a chance to travel in within Spain a little bit? I was lucky in 2018. I got to visit a little bit in Europe, and I did go to Barcelona. I got to see the chapel that they're building there,
Mm.
the cathedral that they've been building for like 100 years or something. Have you been able to travel a little bit at all?
Yes, yes. So I did go to Barcelona twice. Unfortunately, it was going from the airport to a gender affirming surgery consult. So that's all that I really got to see of Barcelona. I have gone to Tarragona. And aside from that, that's it. But I definitely want to actually spend a day in Barcelona, Madrid. I think those are the big cities that I feel like a lot of people tend to want to go see. But also, I would love to see some of the smaller cities as well. Alicante, I would love to go there. So yeah, I'm definitely lucky that I'm able to access traveling within Spain so easily.
I do. Whenever you do get a little more settled and everything, I highly recommend Mallorca, which is an island
Oh,
off
okay.
of Spain. It is beautiful there. It was my favorite part. I only visited Barcelona and Mallorca, but it was beautiful there. They have a beautiful cathedral there. And it's just a nice little town on an island. I highly recommend.
Love it. I'll definitely take your recommendation.
So Spain is full of so many. You could probably travel a whole year doing
Yeah.
trips in Spain and not get bored. There's so much that you can see there. That's
Yes.
amazing. So when did it hit you that you'd done it? Like you'd actually.
Oh, yeah. That's a good question. I think it hit me once I landed in my apartment. Then it was like, oh, okay, I have a room. Like I have a lease. I'm here. Um, and with that came panic attacks and crying and my body kind of catching up. I feel like I was very in survival mode when I was still in the US. And my body was like, nope, you can't feel all these things because you still have a lot to do before you're able to feel all those feelings. Because if you feel them now, you're not getting that stuff done. So I feel like my body then caught up to the situation and is still catching up.
Yeah, because you've only been there, what, 5 weeks or something you
Yeah.
said? A little over a month?
Yep,
That's
five
hardly any
weeks.
time at all, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does a normal day look like for you now? Have you kind of figured out what your like life routine is?
Yes. So I wake up pretty early. I get to the school by 8 a.m. I teach classes on Tuesdays and Fridays. I get out pretty early. I think it's like 10:30 in the morning. And then I go to a coffee shop that's right next to the school. I either work on, possible TikTok content, or I do lesson planning, or sometimes I'm just doom scrolling on, social media, trying to catch up with what's going on in the US, catching up on messages from friends. And then I come home, take my dog Charlie for a walk, go to the gym, and then sometimes I have therapy sessions with clients around like 7, 8 p.m. And then Sundays are like my very dedicated therapy days where I'm doing a lot of back-to-back therapy sessions with people. But I have Mondays off, so it's definitely tolerable for me.
And what surprised you most about life in Spain?
Mm. I think what has surprised me most has been um, just the kindness of people.
Mm.
I mean, people here are so kind to me, and I feel so lucky. Like today, I was at a coffee shop. It's the one that's next to the school that I work at, and I'm always trying to make conversation and practice my Spanish and get better. And there's a guy that works at the coffee shop who said, "Hey, how much do you charge to teach English?" And I was like, "For you, nothing. Like, no, like I'm not going to charge you to, teach you English. If you teach me Spanish, I'll teach you English." And now he will not let me pay for anything at the coffee shop. He's always
That's
covering
amazing.
everything. And I'm like, that is just so sweet. Like that, that really just it shows you how hospitable people are here, and yeah, I'm just super grateful.
And with the benefit of not much distance, because you've only been out a few weeks, but with the benefit of distance and hindsight, such as you have it, do you stand by the decision? Do you feel like it was the right decision?
Mm. You know, I think if you asked me this question about 2 to 3 weeks ago, I'm not sure that the answer would
Mhm.
have been yes. Um,
Yeah.
there was a big moment of feelings of regret, really, really feeling homesick, to the point where, I was panicking and even thinking to myself, okay, if I did have to go back, how much would it cost me?
Mm.
What would I need to, like, I really, really, it hit me hard. And I think it also, had to do with the fact that there was such a big blue sweep recently with elections. There was this big feeling of hope, this feeling of, okay, maybe like I will be able to go back. And then immediately after, the attacks on trans people and passports, and the attacks on trans athletes, um, and now, I mean, this week, I will say I know I made the right decision. Even with how homesick I feel, I at least feel safe, and I at least feel like my nervous system is regulated. Um, I still miss my community in the States dearly. And it is a very lonely, very hard experience. But I am able to find little pieces of home here. For example, when people are so sweet to me and making conversation with me and helping me figure out how to navigate things, and it reminds me that I can do this and that it's not going to feel like this forever. So I stand by my decision. Um, but I think anyone that does leave the US is going to have moments where it just hits you in waves and you wake up and you're like, what did I just do?
100%. Yeah. I mean, so I left the UK 6 years ago, and it was for reasons of opportunity, not because I was worried that my life was at risk, right? So it's very different. But even then, it's a roller coaster. And there are days, particularly when you've moved to a country where they speak a different language and you're
Yeah.
always on the back foot. There are
Yeah.
days when I have cried because we just picked hard mode.
Yeah.
And sometimes it
Yeah.
feels for like no reason. I'm like, I'm now having to navigate complicated medical stuff in another language. Why did I
Yes.
do this to myself?
Yes.
So I can only imagine that, that will continue for you. But, and again, I moved for different reasons, not for the reasons you've moved. Over time, the feeling of where home is changes.
Yeah.
And then it gets to the point that you go back and you realize that as lovely as it is to be back, it's still not home. And
Yeah.
that's weird too. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's an evolution, I guess.
Yeah, and like speaking to the language piece, because a lot of people have asked me, like, why did you choose Spain? You don't even speak Spanish. And, my answer is I've always wanted to become fluent in Spanish. And I think that immersion is the best way. And there
Mm-hmm.
is still a part of me that feels like when this regime has fallen, if I am able to go back, then I will go back being able to speak the language and being able to help people that have been the most impacted by this administration, which are going to be mostly Spanish speaking people. So I still hold on to that hope, and I really am taking learning Spanish seriously so that if it is safe to go back, that I can help people heal from everything.
So you've actually joined the Help Me Leave team. We're
Yeah.
very lucky to have you. Like,
Oh,
what are you hoping to be able to do with us? Which parts of your work are you hoping that we can support you in?
yeah. Definitely, y'all have helped so much with kind of streamlining things. I have a lot of people that reach out to me asking like what visa options there are. And, I put together a spreadsheet of so many countries and the visa options that I researched that um, I tried to include some of the most accessible ones. So ones for people with disabilities, ones for folks that don't have like higher education, options for folks that barely have any money. Um, but having a team that is able to answer some of the questions and having just people on deck so that it's not just me trying to respond to. I mean, at one point, I think it was like 500 DMs on my Instagram and then even more on my TikTok. And I was just spending weeks just responding to people all day. So that has helped immensely. And then, in terms of what I'm hoping to help with when it comes to Help Me Leave, is there are a lot of people who are in distress right now, of course. And I am hoping to be someone that can help them to process what's going on. They can be a regulated presence that can help them when they're in crisis and just let them know that they're not alone and sit with them through the shit. So that is my hope. I hope it's okay that I swore on here.
I don't
I'm
think that's
actually
been an
amazed
issue
I've
so
not
far.
done it already, to be honest. um, so you are a trained therapist. In fact, you have a lot of strings to your bow. I don't know if we have time to list them all, because it's a genuinely impressive list. But we would actually love to talk to you a little bit more about managing mental health in this time generally, but also specifically when you're considering a move abroad or you have moved abroad as either an immigrant or a refugee.
Mhm,
What are some of the ways that people can regulate themselves through times like this?
mhm,
Massive social unrest, massive personal change. Like, what can
mhm,
they do?
mhm. I know this is going to sound like the typical therapist response, and a lot of people are going to be like, ugh, I hate that he said that. But having moments of mindfulness, having moments where you're connecting with nature, having moments where you're focusing on your breath, um, being around community is going to be really, really important. I know a lot of people that are feeling like, is it abnormal that I'm feeling so dysregulated? Is it all in my head? Am I making a bigger deal out of what's going on than everyone else who is just kind of going on and pretending like all of this isn't happening? And the answer is no, you're not. Like, of course you feel this way. And I think that the more that folks are able to be in community and hold that safe container with each other, the more that people are going to be able to get through this. Um, I also think that something that is going to be very, very important is going to be engaging in uh, just community events, getting to know your neighbors, um, going to the library and tapping into local resources. Really, really like being in community with other people is going to be very, very important.
Absolutely, I can definitely attest to that with right now with me being in an asylum camp right now. Just being part of the community here is really huge. You feel so isolated at first, and it's really hard. Like especially I think especially for Americans, when you go abroad, you feel very isolated because you know the rest of the world we're not real popular with the rest of the world, right? So it's hard to get up the courage to go out and talk to people because you're not sure how you're going to be received. But I can say the reception has been positive 90% of the time,
Mhm,
overwhelmingly so.
mhm.
Um, and then also, it helps so much to make a few friends, to have people you can talk to, that you can do things with, and feel like you're part of society again.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. In the therapy world, we say that the opposite of trauma is connection. So the difference between what is a traumatic event for someone versus another person, if let's say they've both experienced the same event, is whether or not that person felt like they could go to someone and talk about it. Whether or not someone felt completely alone in that experience. And
Mhm.
so it is so important for folks to build community and not be isolated in this. And I think the really hard part is there are a lot of people that can't leave their house. There are a lot of people that don't feel safe right now. And I think that that is the beauty of the internet because folks that, can't physically go out at least have some sense of community online. And that is so important. We cannot forget about people who are disabled. We cannot forget about people who are immigrants because they need this connection more than anyone in our communities.
Mhm.
Sorry, I've just suddenly had a brain. I'm trying not to cry. Sorry, we're gonna have to break this. I'm trying not to cry because like
No
this is
worries.
such big stuff, and I'm finding every single one of these episodes that we record, the whole time I'm just like I'm so deeply sad
Yeah.
that people are having to do this. I'm so deeply sad that people are having to leave loving communities and like jobs they loved and places they loved. It just makes me so sad and so angry. So I spend most of the time trying not to cry.
I
It's really silly.
I
It's
feel
just
that
so
so
much.
hard.
That's
Like
very
one
real.
time in one of these, I'm just going to start crying, and then I won't be able to stop. And I'm a very open crier, so hopefully
Oh,
that won't
same.
be
Oh,
content.
same. Yeah. And I've posted TikToks where, I've been super angry or I've been crying. And part of me is like, do I post this? And, you know, I think the answer is yes, because people are feeling this and they don't feel like it's okay to feel it. Or, there are many times where I am just angry and then sad. And then there's this feeling of like, I'm not typically that way. I'm typically a very compassionate, very understanding person. But the last, I felt like I had truly lost my like core sense of self and only recently found that again within the past like few weeks because there was so much anger. There was so much like I have spent my entire time transitioning, trying to hold people's hand and educate them and
Yeah.
trying to show them that trans people are safe people and that we're not these monsters that people make us out to be. And it is so exhausting and it got to the point where I didn't feel like I could do that anymore because I had already lost my whole life, right? And I'm so glad that I'm able to have access to that part of me again because it felt really scary to not have that. Now you have me crying, Charlotte. But
Sorry.
but that's what these systems do to us, right? Is
Yeah.
they want that. They want to break us. They want to make us these angry, not compassionate, very reactive people. And honestly, I think that the reactiveness is so valid. But also, I'm so glad that I have access to that core piece of me again that has that compassion and that maybe doesn't do so much hand holding, but still can have some sense of empathy for people that may not get it.
Yeah, I absolutely understand that. I have gone through, some of that loss of identity through this process as well. A big core to my my whole existence is in survival is my confidence, being confident in my decisions, being confident in myself and my abilities. And going through this process, it has shaken me to my foundation in so many ways. Laying awake in the middle of the night, being like, "What the hell am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Like, did I make the right decision? You know, I was instrumental in convincing my partner. Not that it took a lot of convincing, but if it hadn't been for me, they wouldn't be here. Did I make that right decision? And then on that note as well, feeling such huge imposter syndrome, being like, I'm an American. What am I doing as a refugee, claiming asylum? Like, what am I doing? Like, whenever I was in in the detention center, the prison. I did hard time. So I uh, I was interacting with people, a few people from Palestine, and it's like hearing them, like talking to them, and then some of them not even knowing if their relatives or family members were alive. And I'm like, not that I came from a great condition and I have very difficult backstory and trauma and everything. It's just it's so hard to believe that we deserve the same opportunities.
Yep.
And I also have felt that same guilt, like what you spoke about. Like I feel like I should be back there fighting. Like I should be in front of those ICE detention centers. I should be on the streets. I should be out there. And not being able to do that has been really difficult. And sort of like what you spoke to before, it's only been in the last couple of weeks that I've started to get my feet back up under me and be like, no, this is the right decision. As we've said on this podcast multiple times, I got to make sure I put my oxygen mask on in order to help other people. I've been able to be more instrumental here where I'm at than I would be able to be in the United States. The last 3 months that I was there, I was hiding. Both me and my partner are non-binary. I'm very effeminate, and I stopped, painting nails, wearing any kind of eyeshadow, makeup, earrings, jewelry, like because and we didn't go anywhere. And when you're removed from that, especially as time goes on, you forget what it was like. So that actually bleeds a little bit into some of the questions that I had. But any advice that you have for people um, going through what we are going through the process like we are, like how to keep that self-doubt at bay, how to stay grounded, and how to not feel like an imposter
Hmm.
um, through this process.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good question. Um, I'd be lying if I said that I don't feel that self doubt, because I feel like it that also comes in waves. Um, but what I will say is that I feel like I'm able to do more from a place of now feeling safe and feeling regulated. I knew personally that if I were to stay, that I would either get arrested or I would get killed. Because if someone was being kidnapped by ICE in front of me, I would have reacted. And so I knew if I didn't get out of here, then I'm not leaving,
Yeah.
and I'm not surviving this. And I think that there I understand the anger, right? Especially, you know, me being a white man that is leaving. And also, I mean, I think about the fact that like people are expecting uh, people that are, disabled or people that are trans to be the ones on the front lines fighting this fight. And we've been doing that for decades. And to
Hmm.
expect that is unfair. I think that I think the guilt is going to come in waves. I would be lying if I said that I don't still feel it. But at the end of the day, I knew in my core that I couldn't stay. And it's just this really strong felt sense that I had. And my entire being was like, you have to get out of here. And um, and something that did help me is I did think about, okay, let me try to picture what it would be like if I did stay. What do I notice in my body when I picture that? Like, do I feel my heart racing? Like, do I feel like my stomach clenching? Am I hot? Like, really trying to tap into the wisdom in my own body, because I think a lot of times we see our brain and our body as separate because they're treated as separate through the medical system, but your brain is part of your body and they communicate with each other. And so when I was thinking about what I was feeling physically when thinking about staying in the US, my entire body told me, you have to leave. And so listen to that. If that is coming up for you, your body is telling you something, and I think that you should listen.
It's really
That's great
interesting.
advice.
The thought that triggered for me the call for help to build Help Me Leave was the thought that German Jews could not have changed the course of what was happening, right?
Yeah,
And 2 out of 3 were killed on continental Europe during the war, and the third that managed to get out or get to safety or survive, they couldn't have done anything to make it different. And
yeah,
that's how I feel about the groups that are needing to leave for their own safety right now, because they can't change what is happening. Yes, if they want to stay and fight, of course, but the fight will have to come from people like me, right?
yeah,
Straight, white, cisgender people, right? Able bodied. Like, that's where the fight has to come from. And sadly, until enough people like me are suffering, they're not going to stand up. And I just don't think that the most vulnerable groups have got the time to wait for everybody to wake up. Like, if
yeah,
they have the means to get themselves somewhere safe, great. And if they don't have those means, then they need to be plugging into community who'll do what they can to keep them safe. But the fight can't be led by the people who are most at risk. It really can't.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I've been like a documenter my whole life. Before I got into the therapy field, I actually thought that I was going to be a filmmaker, and I went to film school for a year, and then due to my mental health and realizing that I was trans and having to take care of my mental health and then really like delving into like the field of sexuality, gender, and queer studies, and then social work. I stopped making films, but I still was journaling and documenting a bunch of things. And we're going to need that. We are going to need people who keep record of what is happening so that people in the future can see what happened and hopefully prevent it from ever happening again.
100%. So, just to kind of try and bring us back up from this, what is happening next for you? I know we've spoken before about you not wanting to overplan, but what are you kind of hoping will fall into place for you in the coming month?
Yeah, so I have an appointment for my temporary residency card. Um, that I'm looking forward to a lot. And then I'm hoping that I will meet the requirements for a digital nomad visa through my therapy private practice. And if I don't meet the requirements that way, then I can apply again to this teaching program for another year. And I can keep doing it until I'm 35. That's like the cutoff for at least the region of Valencia. And then I do have a gender affirming surgery scheduled for April. It's called body masculinization surgery. I'm very excited. It's a surgery that I've been wanting for years, and it's going to alleviate, I would say, like a good chunk of the dysphoria that I feel. And then I'm also hoping, thank you, I appreciate you. And I'm hoping that I can start delving into personal training content. I am a certified personal trainer, and I haven't seen a whole lot of content from specifically the trans masculine community about weightlifting or exercise in general that is very body positive, that doesn't focus on calorie counting or things that can really lead to eating disorders. And as trans people, we have higher rates of having eating disorders due to trying to alleviate dysphoria. And so I want to create content that is body positive of all bodies. And then also really focus on, as someone that has physical disabilities, one being an autoimmune and a heart condition, and then the other being a connective tissue disorder, talking about how I adapt weightlifting to work with my disabled body. There's a lot of exercises that I can't do that you'll see a lot of folks doing in the gym. And I'm really hoping to make content so that other people that have disabilities can enjoy connecting with their bodies in safe ways. I actually used to have to walk with a cane, and it was through first going to physical therapy and then doing weightlifting that I am now currently not having to walk with a cane anymore. So I am hoping to help other folks to get into fitness and in a space that feels safe.
Love that. I love that. You're right. I now that I think about it, I don't think I know a single influencer that's focusing on that. That's fantastic. That's a wonderful idea. And congratulations on being able to get that your surgery and everything.
Thank you.
I know how amazing gender affirming care can be. So congratulations on that. I'm so
Thank
excited
you.
for you. We wish you the best of luck on that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
On that note, I gotta say, you have a beard as a fellow bearded person. You have a beard that many men would be jealous of. So I like it's
Thank
incredible.
you.
Like I've been looking at it this whole time. It's flawless.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much. I feel so grateful for my beard.
Yeah,
It's like my
yeah,
makeup.
it's wonderful. Yeah, you know what? I had a friend. before I realized that I was non-binary and started wearing more of the more effeminate and feeling more free to be able to do that.
Hmm.
That my friend said that beards were the makeup for men. So
Yes,
yeah,
correct.
so I feel
Yeah,
that.
I have a baby face under this, so
So do I. Like it makes my jaw look so much more defined.
yes,
Like
me too.
like even the more effeminate I get and everything, like I still like I want to keep a short little beard, to keep that nice appearance of that straight jawline.
And you have a nice beard too.
Thank you, thank you.
Hmm.
I'm feeling very left out of the beard chat, but that's okay. I can suck it up. That's fine. Maybe I should be grateful for that. I don't know. Shall we do our quick fire round? This is a new segment. We've never done this before. It may flop. But yeah, we're going to try and do a quick fire round on your life in Spain versus life in the US.
Mm,
Don't overthink it. I want your
okay.
first answer. So the first one is Estrella or Budweiser?
Budweiser.
Walking everywhere or driving everywhere?
Walking everywhere.
Jamon Iberico or beef jerky?
Oh, ham on. Hands down.
Good, good. Mercadona or Walmart?
Mercadona.
And siesta culture or hustle culture?
Siesta culture.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you so much for joining us, Max. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Your story is so powerful, it really is.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
this is really wonderful. We went a little over time, more than normal, but I think it was wonderful. It was great to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming and speaking to us today, and we might have you again. This was a really, really good episode. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Hey,